It's just so good to be back home. Oh, hello, Lucifer. It's so lovely to see you. What has it been? 600, 700 years? Give or take a few decades. But what's a few decades between immortal lovers, am I right? I'm sorry that I didn't keep in touch during all those years apart. That I didn't write or call. Calling is a thing that can happen now. I'm sorry that I wasn't better at keeping in touch. It's a bit difficult to do that when one is locked inside a lead box and buried underneath a church. You don't seem surprised to hear that, darling. Well, I suppose that's to be expected. You see, seeing as I was locked in that box for nearly 700 years, I had quite a lot of time to think. Those monks, that order of monks that rallied together to imprison me in that box, they, obviously they were not complete idiots, but they wouldn't have known how to weaken me enough to get me in there. Not unless someone had told them how. And darling, I racked my brain for so long trying to think of who it might have been, besides you, that betrayed me. But there was no one. No one else that knew my secrets. Not like you, at least. You told them. You helped them imprison me. And you knew where I was all those centuries. All those centuries. And did nothing. Don't bother to deny it, darling. The humans may refer to you as the great deceiver, but I can always tell when you're lying to me. I'm not like those humans that you torment. Although, you know, I have to say, I've been doing some research on a thing called the internet since I was awakened, and I'm quite impressed with what you've accomplished the last several centuries while I was gone. Yes, quite prolific. Dictators, tyrants, plagues, all sorts of things that had your handiwork on them. Yes, you've been busy. Although, it also definitely, it seems as though humans have not forgotten how to be cruel to each other too. They don't even need our prompting for some of the most awful things that have happened. Hate, judgment, prejudice, fear leading to irrational decisions. Those foolish humans. We always were so much better than them, weren't we? Until you decided to lock me in a box. Darling, are you struggling against my hold? You know you can't get out of it. Usually you don't want to. But you know that you can't. You are going to stay right where you are until I've said my piece. I think after 700 years of imprisonment, you can at least give me that, right? Right. Well, I have to admit, I spent so very long thinking about the awful things that I could do to repay you for imprisoning me. All the ways that I could trap you, that I could make you writhe in agony. There were quite a few centuries where the thought of you being tormented was really the only thing that kept me sane while I stayed in that little box. But here's the thing. You know that you can't kill me. So that stands to reason that you knew that eventually I would get out of that box and I would be coming for you. And if I were to imprison you, put you in some sort of horrible, tortuous situation, you wouldn't stay there forever either. And once you got out, then you would come back for me, wouldn't you? And here we would be feuding with each other. The king and queen of hell at odds, fighting each other instead of tormenting the humans together. We were always so much stronger together, darling. So, instead of starting this centuries-long, millennia-long, perhaps, feud between the two of us, I have decided that I'm not going to retaliate. I'm not going to return the favor and lock you in that box instead, or do any of the other nasty things that may or may not have crossed my mind in that time. I'm letting you off the hook, Satan. I would very much prefer that we let the past be the past and get back to what's really important. You and me ruling hell together and seeping into the darkness of the world above. You know, there were quite a few things that you've done recently that were very impressive, but honestly, darling, it sort of seems that you've lost a bit of the spark lately. The creativity that makes tormenting humans so much fun. It almost seemed like you were getting a bit bored. So maybe having me by your side again will rekindle some of that fire. You know, in the midst of thinking of all of those awful things I could do to you, I have to admit, I also missed you. There were times when I was so lonely, I wondered what you were doing. I hope you missed me too, even just a little. Well, that's good to hear. That's very good to hear. So, what do you say, my dear? Instead of us going back and forth for thousands of years trying to get the best of each other, why don't we just go back to the way things were? Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I can't wait to get back to the important things, you and I. Wonderful. That's excellent to hear. Let's put that all in the past, shall we? Except, you did lock me in a box for 700 100 years. Now, I'm not going to be returning the favour, but I do need some sort of reassurance that that isn't going to happen again. That we won't have some sort of argument and then all of a sudden you decide that you need to get rid of me for a few centuries once more. What good is the word of the great deceiver? No. I need something that's going to be a bit more of a failsafe. So, since returning to the land of the living, as the kids say these days, I've been doing some research, tracking down some rumours here and there, travelling all over the globe, really, in search of some very specific information, and one very particular item. So, it's one of the reasons that you're stuck to the spot here, because I need you to cooperate, whether you want to or not. Just for this one time, alright? Alright. Yeah. You recognize this? Yes, I'm sure you do. This is the dagger that stuck the side of Christ as he died for the sins of the world. It's one of the only items that can pierce your skin, isn't it? Yes, it is. And let me tell you, this was not easy to come by. It took quite a lot of doing to track this down. That's why I didn't come to see you sooner. Because as difficult as it was to get this, it was worth it. Do you know what I'm going to do? I thought you might. You've always been very clever, darling. I'm going to bind us together in a way that not even you can undo. You see, there's a bit of ritual blood curses. Quite a bit of them, actually. And one of them in particular binds the two people together so that anything that happens to one of us happens to the other of us as well. And vice versa. So, if I were to, say, drink your blood, and then you tried to weaken me, tried to hurt me, tried to imprison me, you would really be enacting that fate on yourself as well. And you and I both know that you would never do that. Not to yourself. So, just call it a security deposit, I suppose. I promise not to hurt you. I promise not to try to do anything to get revenge for what you did to me. But you have to let me bind us together. Good. Not that you really have a choice, because as I said, you can't get out of that. But going to need to hold really still for me, darling, okay? Yeah. I always hated these goblets. So tacky. Just very on the nose. Oh well. It will serve for our purposes. So, hold very still for me, darling. I wouldn't want to take too much. Just... You still smell delicious, darling. We'll revisit that later, I suppose. came out a bit faster than I thought it would, but that's alright. That's alright. That should be plenty to bind us together. You and me, for all eternity. That's what you promised me already. Long, long, long ago. When you fell to the earth, fell from grace, from above. And I was the one that found you. Nursed you back to health. Took you somewhere safe. Helped you regain your power. Helped you learn new power. You said that you were indebted to me forever. I haven't forgotten, you see. I have a very, very good memory. So, now you will have no choice but to make good your promise. Which is really as it should be anyway. I know that you're known as the Prince of Darkness, the Great Deceiver, the King of Lies, all those other titles that the humans have given you. But that's the humans, not to me. You are my king, my lord, and I'm your queen. So what do you say, darling? Shall I drink it? Bind us together for all eternity, so we can rule. Not just hell, but so we can enact the vengeance that the humans so deserve. With you and I working together once again, we could rule the world, darling. What do you say? Excellent. Cheers. I've missed that taste. Oh, how I've missed it. How I've missed you. And now, we never have to miss each other again. You're looking a bit tired, darling. I suppose I did take a bit more blood than I was anticipating. Well, why don't you take a little rest for now? We'll have plenty to talk about. Plenty of plotting, scheming to do once you wake up. Plenty of other things as well. But for now, why don't you get some rest, my lord, my love, my Lucifer. Don't worry, I'll still be here when you wake up. I'll always be here now, by your side.